Usually when the mayor does this, that means here we go. So here we go. Welcome to this evening's June the 4th meeting of our regular council. And at this time I'm asking if there's any conflict of interest. I suppose I should say I open the meeting as the mayor. And are there any conflicts, council members? Nope. It's funny, but it is funny. Anyways, I'll turn it over to you, sir, right now, Mr. Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under item 4, adoption of published agenda, that the published agenda be adopted as presented or amended. I have one correction to the published agenda. Bylaw 1708, which is located at 17.1.1 on the agenda. The bylaw itself correctly refers to 5 building lots, but in the Schedule 1 attached refers to 10 lots. Just for the record, for the published agenda, that reference in Schedule 1 should be to 5 lots, not 10.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Bondi and then Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering if we can take 5 or 10 minutes and entertain a delegation tonight to speak to us about an idea, perhaps in principle, that we can consider as a council. Because this gentleman and his partners, they're in the audience tonight, they don't want to waste a lot of time on it if council doesn't even support the idea or the vision. So I don't know if Councilor Vokes has anything to add, but it would be Carl Lonsberry and his 2 partners over there who would like to talk to council for 5 or 10 minutes. And they came out tonight in hopes that they could.
Okay, to Councilor Bondi, we do have a process of getting here. Now, has to be urgent and minor. In your eyes, do you see this as an urgent item and a minor item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do, because it's urgent because they want to know whether they're going to invest time in it or not, and minor is because we're not making any actions tonight. We're not doing any actions tonight. We're just letting them speak tonight. And I believe there was email correspondence that went out from our Director of Community Services, and even our Deputy Mayor asked if we were going to discuss it on the agenda. And it never made it to the agenda.
Okay, first of all, would that email have come to me? I don't recall while I was out of town seeing it. Mr. Sweet?
Yes, it was sent to everybody, but that was on a different issue.
Okay, thank you. Now, they just come up with this idea? When's it happening that we couldn't get it on the agenda for next week to come to a meeting that we just don't rush it through without following our rules? That's my question.
I believe, Mr. Mayor, because this has been done before, we've entertained people that have come out, and I believe because it is urgent of the nature, which is why we're asking for it to be on tonight. I don't know, I believe Councilor Vokes has something he could add.
Well, okay, Councilor Vokes, go ahead.
Thank you. Look, the reason it's urgent is because it's a seasonal proposition. And what makes it urgent is we're at the council meeting tonight, and then if we put it in as a NOM, a notice of motion tonight, then it's 2 weeks before it comes back to council to do what we're going to do tonight. So if we do it tonight, it moves the needle forward for Mr. Lonsberry in the event that council and administration endorses, which I would, his intent, instead of delaying the gentleman, because of the aspect and the quality of the facilities putting down there in terms of opportunity for people to have a chance to have drinks and opportunities at their disposal. We deem it to be, as a council, I believe, urgent in nature. And that's why and it's nothing more than hearing Mr. Lonsberry tonight and then getting a feel for that and then giving a direction to administration to help and insist in moving the project forward.
Okay.
And so if we don't do it tonight, it's going to make us fall behind the timeline, tentatively 4 to 6 weeks. And that's why it's imperative and it's urgent to be heard tonight.
Well, I can see it taking 4 to 6 weeks if they were to come to administration, get on next week's agenda, and we already know that staff could answer the questions that they would ask at that meeting, they could have them for them. We as a council said, this is how we deal with things, but jump ship if we feel like it. So,
If I could.
no, I have the floor.
Okay.
You know, so why are we making our rules if we want to jump them? My question is, how much time does this gentleman need?
10
Does he-
minutes.
No,
10.
not for this. Is this function that you're talking about, whatever it is, 3 months from now? Or is it in a month? Like if it's in a month, probably, maybe we should be doing this. But if it's 3 months from now, why are we breaking the rules as to minor?
I can answer that, if I
Well,
could.
okay, when I'm finished, I'll let you, sir. That is where I'm coming from. That's all I'm saying. So if somebody can say it's going to be 3 months, I would say no, but if it's going to be a month, I would probably say yes. And I may just turn it over to let you council members decide which I can do. Councilor Vogel.
Mr. Lonsberry tentatively would have the facility up and running yesterday if everything would work for him in a positive aspect from a progressive council. It's as simple as that. And so in terms of whether or not council is going to hear him endorse it, or whether we do it today, whether we do it or not, it's going to be done through a motion of support. So my intent is to put a motion to allow Mr. Lonsberry to speak with Hopick and a seconder. You call the question. Either council supports allowing him to speak or they don't.
I know what the process is, sir.
Well, then-
I believe Councilor Bondi has made the motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, is the motion, right now we're at adoption of agenda, so I guess we would be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended with potentially the addition of the Lonsberry delegation and the correction that I noted before.
So, Councilor Bondi, you were making a motion that they be allowed to speak, I think. Okay.
I'll second it.
Councilor Vogel seconds it. Questions to the motion? Oh, I had Councilor Rogers had his hand up. No? Okay. Councilor Snively.
I'll hold back on it.
Okay. Nothing further to the motion. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Okay. So that's going to be, you tell me when.
Item 5, adoption of minutes, that the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 22nd, 2018 be adopted as circulated.
Councilor Rogers, Councilor Snively, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Yes. That they be allowed to speak at this meeting.
So, through the chair, the motion was to adopt the published agenda with the noted amendments of the Lonsberry delegation. Yes. So through you, Mr. Chair, item 6 is public presentations. As added to the agenda this evening, we have Mr. Lonsberry and his two partners providing a delegation to council this evening.
Welcome, gentlemen. You come right up to the delegation's desk, and which one works the best on it? Try this one over here, would you, gentlemen? Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. And you get 5 minutes, sir. Right? Sorry,
Hurry up,
there are
sorry.
2 of you. You get 10.
First time for everything. I appreciate the time, everybody. I know this was kind of thrown at you guys last week, but like Randy Vogel said there, it is time urgent because we're trying to get to utilize the summer season here. If you guys don't know me, my name is Carl Lonsberry. I have Lonsberry Farms Brewing Company, which is located at Wolfhead Distillery, and these guys have Craft Heads Brewing Company, and so we are actually amalgamated. We are the same company now, just different branding. And so I approached the town because I also have another company down there as well, Oxley Surf Company, and we see more and more attraction to the harbor in Colchester, which is, like, in my eyes, the focal point of our county because it's beautiful down there, and we want to attract more people because I see the plan going out for all the community improvement plans to everything along County Route 50, where I live. And I think this would be an added attraction to bring more people down, more tourists, more people wanting to move there as well. So what we're now looking to do is taking the property that is east side of the community center down at the harbor. It's where the bait shop used to be. There's about 2,500 square feet there. We're looking at putting a retrofitted shipping container and setting up as like a bar brew area for us, and so we can fence the area in with fencing for the AGCO requirements, and we can serve beers and have a retail there as well, and try to utilize that space to hopefully attract more boaters in and more tourists when they're on County Road 50 in the wine touring and so on and so forth. So. We just wanted to see if there was interest, because we want to put together a plan for Doug and go through the proper channels, like you said. We want to go through those proper channels. We're not trying to skip any steps here. We just want to make sure that our time that we're investing into it is going to be worthwhile, and we will go through those proper channels.
Are there any questions from council to, okay, I have Councillor Bunning and Councillor Snively. Deputy Mayor Malloy. And Councillor Vokes.
Thank you for coming, and I think that this is being open and transparent and above board, because before we send staff on, numbers and investigations and calls, this is what we're doing. We're coming here to see if there's council support to entertain this idea before the Jay Afflicks and our Director of Community Service spends time on this file. So right now, tonight, what we're just looking to see is this something council wants to see? And through talking and investigating myself, it's this season, like I've said to Councillor Vokes today, it may be a hurdle to get it up and running this season, right? But that's your reality. That's not my reality. My reality is, do I support it in principle to sanction staff hours for this? Absolutely. I want to see it investigated. So that's what I believe our delegation is here tonight to see, if we support it in principle to spend valuable staff hours investigating it, and I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Snively.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Carl, I've had conversations with Carl on this issue. He knows I like the idea, but there's a few concerns I have here. One concern, a big concern, is parking. We don't have a whole lot of parking down there now. We have a problem with parking right now. When Colchester Beach is busy, there's a parking problem down there right now. And another thing is, a report should come back from administration. I think administration should look at this, and I discussed this with you, Carl. I support it, but I want to make sure from administration that this is going to work. There's liabilities involved here. The number one issue to me, I'll go back to, is parking. We have a real parking problem down there right now. As far as supporting it, yeah, I like the idea. But like I say, we should turn this over to administration, let them come back with a report, okay? The pros and cons on this whole thing. And, I discussed this with you. I don't think that we should be rushing into a project like this right now. Like I say, I support it, okay? But it's not a snap decision. I can't see council, I'm going to speak for myself, but I hope council does not make a snap decision here and we get in trouble with this. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Vokes.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Congratulations, gentlemen. Fantastic idea. I like the idea, too. I support it in principle. A lot of the same questions that Councillor Snively has, and I would say before that we could approve it, it would have to go through our administration. They'd have to look at it and tell us how quickly we can move on this. It's the whole idea of RFPs and the whole thing. If we give exclusively to one person, how does that affect other people coming back and saying, hey, you never gave us the opportunity to do it? I know you guys were the first ones to ask, but sometimes in legal terms, it doesn't matter whether you were the first ones to ask. It's how we offer out our property or the use of our properties. So I want to verify from verification from from our administration that we're not overstepping the bounds of what we can do legally by bypassing an RFP process and going directly to you guys. The other thing is Councillor Snively and myself were talking earlier, and I too agree. We were talking about the parking. Parking is always an issue down there, and I believe that if we had something like Lonsberry down there, we would be very busy. It would increase the traffic considerably, and I think you
Let's hope
guys
so.
think the same thing. I know I'd be there more often, but I think that we really have to investigate, and maybe our administration, they're the experts on that. They'd have to tell us whether we can handle that extra parking, or maybe there's something we can do with the parking to make it better in a hurry, maybe based on the revenues that we would gain from you guys, put that towards parking somehow. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm not going to hold it up here long. I agree with it in principle. I think our administration needs to look at it and see if there's something that we can do. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Sir, Councilor Vokes?
What a deplorable problem we have, Carl. We got a horrible problem. What we got is, the problem looks like this. Our problem looks like we got no parking. And the reason we got no parking, because our harbor is extremely busy, which means you could plunk your business right in the middle and probably get a great cash reward as a result of it. But with all those people that are parking there, that are visiting the harbor, enjoying the amenities of the harbor, that are going to park there anyway, because they're already parked there, and we know they're parked there because parking's a problem. So you being there isn't going to change anything. We already got a parking problem. But now for the people who are parking there, they're going to have the opportunity to have a cold, locally brewed drink. What a shame. What a shame. And to say we're going to rush this through, that's a fallacy. We haven't rushed anything through yet. There's never been nothing rushed through. Not because I'm trying to be hypocritical. The reason we don't rush everything through, because staff and administration, along with the guidance of council, we traditionally, when you look at our work record, we do everything that's required. So you'll get it when time allows. But I also believe that the allowance of time is, if we focus on it, could be minimized. And you should be and could be up and running this week. Or not this week, this season. Because we're not inventing a wheel here. The wheel's there. There are people serve all across Ontario and Canada and the world every day. They serve alcohol and liquor. And we can figure out a way, I'm sure, in an expeditious way, if council approves based on what administration tells us, based on what you share with them of your intent. This council, in my feelings, merely responsibly, within a very short time period, could have you up and running. So I don't want a bunch of fallacies about there, how we're going to rush into it, and we're not going to do our homework, and we're not going to cross the T's and dot the I's, because that's not true. But I encourage this council to approve it, so as early as tomorrow, you can get starting on submitting some plans to our administration of what your opportunity looks like. And wherever the shortcomings are, in order to get it started for you, we as a council administration look at that and figure out a way to help you out. And ultimately, we end up with a great place, a unique place, by the way, because all across Canada, Ontario today, what they're doing, and they're doing it in the city of Windsor, is they're doing temporary storage containers. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Yep.
And they actually pick them up and they move them by truck from location to location. And they're doing the same thing you guys are doing, by the way. They're serving drinks, they're putting retail stuff in there, and they're moving them around the city to different locations. So I like the storage container idea. It's different, it's unique, and it gives the boaters a place to have a cold beer. What a problem. Boy, what a problem. Hate problems like this. Anyway, so I hope council would endorse, as early as tomorrow, a business plan and get started with your endeavor to get it going for you. Thank you.
That it, sir?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Bergman.
Thank you, through your worship. Thank you very much for coming out, gentlemen. It sounds like a great idea, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I heard the retrofitted, and then there was noise. I didn't know what you were retrofitting. So it's a storage container that you're looking at, and so part of your offer is you're looking at supplying the container, bringing the fencing. There's no cost associated. Can I surmise with the town that the cost will be 100% borne by your company?
Yeah, all we're going to do, we'll retrofit the container. We'll level out the area and fence it in with we're supplying all the cost. And then,
Okay. So then the question here tonight really is just, will this council, do we like that idea enough that we're endorsing that to say, administration, please go and talk with them? All the rest of our talk here at the table isn't going to get anything done, right? So I'm in favor of you talking with administration and then administration coming back to us. Thank you.
Sure. Councilor Rogers, any comments or any questions? Well, okay, I'll go to Mr. Sweet, and then I'll come to Mr. Snidey, because I was going to Mr. Sweet when I had a chance, but go ahead, Mr. Sweet.
Through your worship, just quickly, council may not be aware, but I think last Thursday, Carl came in, so he has approached administration already, but it's pretty vague, so we've asked exactly what council's asking now, to come back with a business plan and details, so then we can get our clerks, planning, everybody together to see what's required. So just want to bring that to know, council, he has approached administration already, and that's what we've requested.
Okay, Councilor Snidely.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Carl, I do support it in principle, but to administration, to Donna, does an RFP have to go out on a project like this? That's my question.
Mrs. Hunter, or CEO.
Through you, Your Worship, I'm really not sure at this point if there's others that might be interested in something similar. I think that's a discussion we'll have to have internally to see what other potential people are out there, because, I mean, keeping in mind, we did do our RFP for the bait shop, so this is really not all that different if there's others in this business.
Councilor Snivy.
Further to Donna again. That really didn't answer the question for me. Do you think an RFP has to go out on this? That's my question. Do you think one has to go out?
Through you, Your Worship, without knowing what other businesses like this are out there, personally, I don't know. I can't say for sure yes or no. If there are others, then I would think it would have to go out for an RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I had a couple questions I had. One to Mr. Sweet with regards to parking. Do we have parking all over there presently?
Through your worship, on the lower level, kind of the harbor entrance, that's all reserved parking for slip owners. And then you have the level at the top, across the street Frosties, and now some angle parking also on Jackson, and at the old schoolhouse, we have additional parking.
But my question was mainly down at the dock area, because it's been said there's people parked there, but I'm not so sure that there's parking down there. Like, I know I've gone down there, and I believe I've seen signs where you can't park down there, you know, so
Through your worship, the lower level is reserved parking for the slip holders.
that's what I thought. And the biggest thing with me would be liability, and we're going to get all that information from administration. I don't think there's anyone in the whole municipality would say no to you people, you know, if it was possible. And we're not going to make you jump through loops, but we're going to go the right way, like the legal way, as far as I'm concerned, and that's what our staff is all for. I got both yes, I got them both. So, you know, we're going to get all that information from these people that we've hired to do that for us. So as fast as we can, we want to get you underway.
Well, as for parking, I've talked to Doug about that, and we just have to make it clear to customers and patrons that the down at the bottom is reserved. Like, we know that everyone has to park up top. Like, we've already gone through that.
I'm glad
so.
that you've already talked to administration, because that's first step, I think. Okay, I have Councilor Bondi and Councilor Votes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make a motion that council support the beer
Garden.
beer garden concept and principle and sanction administration's hours to work with Carl Lonsberry and his company to get it done. And that also includes looking into the RFPs and everything like that. One little thing too, we were approached by a private gentleman to open Fitness Fury. Kind of similar, same thing, on town property. So we may not have to RFP, but we've already kind of done some of this before. So I'd just like to make that motion, please.
And we have a seconder, Councilor Rogers. Any questions to the motion? Oh, Deputy Mayor Malloy.
We support it, sanction staff hours to work with Mr. Lonsberry.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Get her going.
Okay, sorry.
We got a motion on the floor now. You're cut off, so you can shut your mic off, and then you'll remember not to try again. Thank you, sir. Okay, to the motion, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, and good luck, is all I'll say, because it's going to happen. You know it.
Item 7.1 is unfinished business, is Planning Report 2018-23, Affordable Housing Options. At the May 22nd council meeting, council tabled their consideration of this report in order to provide an opportunity to clarify some of the concerns raised at that meeting. To that end, and in conjunction with this report, we also have this evening a presentation by Mr. Nepsey, Director, Infrastructure and Development, who together with Mr. Watson, Policy Planner, will attempt to help clarify some of those questions, concerns raised at the last meeting. Through you, Mr. Chair, the first order of business, though, would be to take this report from the table for discussion.
Yes, sir. Moved by Councilor Bonnie, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? The motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Now. Going right to Mr. Nepsey, sir.
Yeah, through your worship. Thank you. I'm just waiting for Mr. Auger to pull up the PowerPoint presentation. The current report that's on the agenda right now, I mean, it provides detail on provincial housing policy and local needs. It provides information on Town of Essex initiatives and what the town has done to meet our target that 25% of new housing should be affordable. It also talks about what we would like to do. So I wanted to go through a little bit of a slideshow presentation to clarify the investment in affordable housing for Ontario, some details around that, and hopefully answer some of the questions that Council had at the previous Council meeting. So special thanks to Ms. Tina Moore. She's the coordinator for the Housing Administration and Development for the Windsor Housing and Children's Services. So she helped us. She met with administration. We discussed the differences with the various programs, and it definitely helped clarify things in my mind, and I'm hoping to share that with Council tonight. So slide one, and again, our planner, Jeff Watson, has put together a very detailed report for Council. There's tons of information in there. I'm pulling some of that out here again. I don't want to focus on too much of it, as you've already had now a month to look that over. So the first slide really are some statistics and some tidbits on the fact that there truly is a need for affordable housing in Canada. You know, the provincial long-term affordable housing strategy is to develop and maintain an appropriate and sustainable supply of affordable housing. In order to do that, they're expanding and enhancing the range of land use planning and municipal finance tools that municipalities can use to build more affordable market housing. They're enabling legislation for zoning and reducing complexity and cost around second dwelling units in homes, supporting a vibrant nonprofit and cooperative housing sector. And again, they're looking for that minimum 20% of new housing that should be affordable. This is just Windsor and Essex County at a glance, breaking down the various municipalities within the county. The city's population is pushing 220,000. The rural area of that is 181,000. And it's really showing you that the county-wide core housing need for assisted, affordable, and subsidized housing, you know, we're lacking. There's that 15% need there. So this next slide, I think, will help clarify some of the things that we were stuck on at the last meeting. So the City of Windsor, through Windsor Housing and Children's Services, they're the service manager for the city and the county. The service manager, they approve the regional housing initiatives sanctioned under the various federal and provincial housing programs. They also manage the central housing registry. They manage it, right? They manage that registry of persons needing affordable and special needs housing. The next paragraph, I think, is very key. It's not to be confused with Windsor Essex Community Housing. That's an independent housing management company. So there's actually 34 social housing providers. The Windsor Essex Community Housing Corporation, no, I'm getting confused, but Yes, they're just one of those management companies. They're the largest one in the area. They're pushing 50% of that provisional need. And they're stocked and appointed by the City of Windsor, and our Honorable Mayor is a member of that board, as well as city and council representatives. So.
I made sure, I was just reading your report. There are about 4 other citizens from the City of Windsor and the county that are also appointed by the City of Windsor.
But they're very different, right?
Yeah.
So the Windsor Housing and Children's Services is the service manager for the entire county, Windsor and the entire county. So, as noted, they manage that central housing registry waitlist. That's the total number of individual families that are looking for subsidized housing, affordable housing. They're looking for that support. In Windsor and Essex County, there's 4,400 individual families on this wait list. The town of Essex has 423 people on that wait list. Now, that's not noting that there's 400 people within the town of Essex that are on this wait list. What it's noting is when they register to be on that list, they check where they would like to be placed. So they can check multiple locations. They don't have to live in Essex to check Essex. They can, but they can, note, yeah, sure, I would love to live in LaSalle, Essex, Leamington, whatnot. So the number might be a little bit overlap, but it gives you an idea anyways. So individuals and families access social housing and rent supplements following this wait list. So this wait list governs where those families are looking for social housing and rent supplements. The affordable housing, the choice of the tenant is the responsibility of the landlord. So it's much different. So the tenant can be on the wait list or just eligible to be on the wait list to be able to apply for affordable housing. So there's a very distinct separation between the two. Our focus is on the provision of affordable rental housing. That's what the whole report is based around, and that's where we're pushing you as an administration to look at. This again, we'll get into the, a lot of this is in the report, so the definition of affordable housing. So this is housing that's where the purchase price and the basic services result in annual costs that do not exceed 30% of gross annual household income for low and moderate income households. Similar rent that does not exceed 30% of the gross annual household income for the same low moderate income rental households. And the rent is at least 10% below the average market rent in the regional market area. So it's really, an affordable dwelling is one that can be sold or rented such that the monthly cost of the household meets either of the basic requirements above. It's not rent supplement, it's not subsidized or assisted housing. It's different. In Essex Center, 10% of homeowners spend more than 30% of their gross income for owner-occupied housing, and 42% of renters spend more than 30% on rental housing. So affordable renting, housing capital investments, this is talking about what's happened in the area to date. So the total provincial federal investments in Windsor, Essex since 2007 is $32 million. To date, only projects related to existing housing rehabilitation and energy efficiency have been approved for the town of Essex. This is a key point here as well. There's been no capital affordable housing projects awarded in Essex. So that's something that we haven't pursued, developer hasn't pursued, we haven't partnered with anybody to do that. So new affordable housing is needed in our urban centers as the availability of existing housing stock is very low and no new affordable rental housing projects have been built in Essex in the last 2 decades. 372 of these affordable housing units have been created throughout the county. This year, $4 million is available under the Investment in Affordable Housing Program, and that's funded by the province. Of that $4 million, the highlights of the program are the funding will provide up to 75% of the capital costs, or a maximum of $150,000 per affordable dwelling unit, whichever is less. New construction or acquisition rehabilitation projects are eligible. Funding is through a 20-year forgivable loan, and the proponents or the developers, they're contractually required to maintain affordable rents for the 20-year period. So it's a 20-year program. This is going to speak to some of the issues that council discussed in the last meeting. Affordable housing tenancy. So as noted before, a proponent can submit a proposal specifically for seniors or other target groups. So the developer looking to build this affordable housing or apply for this program can gear their development towards seniors or other target groups. But that proposal and target group is subject to the evaluation criteria of the RFP at the time. So seniors that apply to live in the development would have to be on, like I noted before, be on or eligible to be on the central housing wait list. So they don't have to be on the wait list, but they have to be meet the requirements to be eligible to be on the wait list. As far as restricting where these proponents are from or reside currently, as noted here, restricting to a specific geographic area within Windsor-Essex would not likely be supported, as the funding is provided to address the affordable needs of Windsor-Essex as a whole. But again, affordable housing programs under this, it's a landlord-tenant agreement. So the landlord is choosing the tenants that they wish to fulfill their target group. This is where, Jeff Watson noted in the last meeting, this is where we would encourage anybody to get on that wait list. That's through advertising and whatnot, that we could get out and get that proper advertising and show the people in the area that there's that potential for that affordable housing in our area. So that's something I think that would come in conjunction with any program we push forward, a little bit of a media push on our end. From discussions from last council, priority is given to projects that have funding support from other sources such as municipal councils. So the recommendation that's before you is that we're rebating the municipal portion of the development charges, and that be given to a proponent that has entered into a contribution agreement under the IAH program. So if they've entered into the program and they're looking to provide affordable housing, in definition of what that program is, then we would look at rebating the municipal portion of that development charges. A key point here is the door is currently open in Harrow Centre. You've already waived the municipal portion of the development charges in Harrow Centre. So the door is open for any investor looking to apply for a program like this in that area. I'm not going to get into the numbers. I'm going to leave that for Mr. Morrison to talk about how that municipal contribution would look in terms of the development charges rebate.
Okay, Mr. Morrison, thank you, sir.
Thanks, through the chair. There were some questions last time as it pertains to subsidizing the development charges through the existing tax base. So I put together the following, which identifies, it's two issues on here. So the first issue is the tax revenue. That's the very top one. So these aren't actual numbers. These are just numbers I used to illustrate the example. So the base year is pre-development. So this is currently as we exist now. The development hasn't occurred or the funding hasn't been approved for it. So base year, we have $500 in tax revenue. Year one is when the development would occur. So year one, we still have $500 in tax revenue. Year two, $500 in tax revenue. 3 and 4, $500 in tax revenue. Once we get to year 5, we'll now have $525 in tax revenue. So how that happens is that year one, the development charges come out, say the development charges are $100. So those development charges through the rebate program would be paid by the municipality through a loan through the landfill reserve. However, that loan would be paid back through the new tax revenue associated with that new development. So assuming that new development occurred in year one, you'll get $25 in year one. $25 would go to pay back that development charges. So now the balance is $75, which is owing back to the landfill reserve. Year 2, 3, and 4, you'll have another $25. So now that loan from the landfill reserve is fully paid back, plus interest. I didn't include interest on here just for the simplicity's sake. So now the full amount to the landfill reserve is paid back, and come year 5, that additional $25 in tax revenue now becomes part of our municipal tax revenue.
Thank you for
Thanks.
that. Got it? Yeah. Mr. Dempsey.
Can you teach me now? So, in summary, there's a need. There's a need in the area. One means to help achieve affordable housing goals is through participation in these provincial initiatives. The investment in affordable housing for Ontario program is a preferred option. I would involve endorsing proponent-driven projects in our urban centers and clearing bureaucratic hurdles. Back to the recommendation in the report at hand, that the following funding initiative be adopted to stimulate the construction of affordable and special needs dwelling units in the communities of Essex Centre, Harrow, Colchester, and McGregor. 100% of the rebate of the municipal portion of development charges for the construction of new dwelling units constructed under the Ontario Investment in Affordable Housing Program. That's what's recommended. So I hope that helps clear up some of the confusion and maybe not add too much more to it, but if have any questions for any of the panel here, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I had my hand up first, and then Deputy Mayor Malash is right behind me. But back to the $4 million, Mr. Dempsey. It's available this year under this program. Would we be able to put in for some of this money and find out how much they'd give to us before we plunged headfirst into this project? Like would we be able to know how much, like we might get 500,000, we might get $750,000 to get going on this thing, like in big time?
Through your worship, the funding isn't for us to apply for, really. It's proponent driven. The developer, they're applying for their RFP, and then how they're divvying up the $4 million depends on the initiative and who meets their criteria. Whether they want to put it all in one spot or split it up, whatnot. I think what we have going for us as a municipality is the fact that we haven't received this funding to date. No developer has looked to partner on that, and I think that would be favorable for us if we had an interested party move forward with our support that way anyways.
So if we were going to partner up with someone, they would have to put in for that.
Yeah, through your worship, when I say partner, we're not really partnering with them. You're just, you're recommending and giving them your support if they're looking for their application. They're doing the application, they do everything on their own. It really, the town, it's a letter of support from council at the most, and everything is done on through the proponent side.
So have we gone after any of these people to, let's get going on this thing in our municipality?
Through your worship, I mean, with what council is doing right now, yes, you're looking to invite any developer here by providing these incentives. That you're doing your job that way in order to move forward with affordable housing.
Okay, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. And thank you for those explanations, Mr. Nepsey and Mr. Morrison. I've had several conversations with various members of administration over the last 2 weeks since we first viewed this report, last council meeting. I think that my vision of what was happening was a little bit skewed. I really did think it was the Windsor Housing Authority that we were talking about being involved in this, and I apologize to the rest of council if I skewed the discussion on that, because that's really what I thought where we were going. But with the new facts in place, I'm all on board with this plan. I can see the benefits of what's being presented here. So again, I apologize, because I think I had my wires crossed here with Windsor Housing Authority. And I couldn't see us giving more money to a county organization to try and get housing here, is what I was thinking, when in fact, if it's needed here in the town of Essex, that Windsor Housing Authority should be building the homes here. So this is entirely different, and I'm glad to see our administration is that passionate about trying to do something in this regard. So thank you very much for bringing this forward, and that's all I've got to say. I'm in support.
Thank you, sir. I have Councillor Bjorkman and Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Nepsey, and Mr. Jeff. I can't pull up your last name. Anyways, it's very good. What we went through at the last meeting was also a good checkup to me. We didn't have a lot of the information we needed to make that good decision. I don't regret defending that there should be some component of this that looks at the town of Essex first. I've spoken with a couple of developers in the last couple of weeks. I've spoken with a number of people on administration to educate myself on what happens here. And really what we're doing by knocking off these development charges is we're helping the developers score. It goes back to something like they're applying for this funding, and if we're showing as a town that we're helping them, it moves them higher up the list to actually be able to get that funding. So that's the right thing for us to do. It also is something that's done locally, and the developer has to own this for the next 20 years. This is their property. They are going to make sure that this property is taken care of, because they don't see the payoff for their investment for 20 years. So it's very, very different to having a municipal board or a city board overlooking it. This is somebody with a chip in the game and making sure that things are taken care of properly. So I'm happy with all that information. It certainly helped me with my decision. I will support it.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the time is right, I'd love to move the recommendations. I supported it 2 weeks ago. I support it even more today. I love the juvenile, straight to the point graph that makes us get it, right? Like, maybe that's what we needed. I don't know. It was a no-brainer to me. Like, you must have had giggles in the office making that up. I know there was giggles in the office making that up. Will they get it now? Will they get it? Yeah, they're going to get it. Okay, so that's good. No, it's good. Now everybody, we get it now. We're all on the same page. Like, we've answered a lot more questions. I want people here, and I would love to have Amherstburg people and Essex people and Kingsville people and Lakeshore people. It's a no-brainer. We got to try to figure out how to get these developers to spend some of that $4 million before there's a provincial election and the mandate of the province changes, because we don't know what we'll end up with. I supported it then. I supported it now. My goodness. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Oakes.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I want to reiterate what Councillor Bondi said 2 weeks ago. The only one who recognized and stood to the occasion of affordable housing unconditionally was myself, Sherry Bondi, and Councillor Rogers. Unquestionably. We didn't need explanation. We didn't need documentation. What we needed was an opportunity for those underprivileged for a place to reside. And unconditionally, we were willing to accept that. But I'm glad Council's moving forward with it, now with an explanation as to why they would entertain affordable housing for those of special needs specifically. That's what it was all about 2 weeks ago. So you got your explanation now, and I'm glad to see everybody's on board. Thank you.
And to that comment, I would just like to say, before I dot my I's and cross my T's, I'm going to hear everything about whatever it is we're talking about, and it's going to be through administration, because that's who we asked to do this work on our behalf. So if that's it, I'll take your motion.
Support the recommendations, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. And Councillor Vokes. Any questions? That motion? All in favor? Motion carries, 100%. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Nepsey and company. Great job.
8.1, Corporate Services, 2018-04 revise, Statement of Remuneration and Expenses Paid 2017, report under Section 284 of the Municipal Act for receipt.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.2, Finance and Business Services, 2018-04, year-end transfers to reserves operating for receipt, and that the unused budget amounts for incomplete items as identified in Schedule A be transferred to reserves.
Moved by Councillor, you got Rogers first, Councillor Bondy supports. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Noted that.
8.3, Community Services, 2018-20, Colchester Family Fun Event, request to waive compliance with noise bylaw 690 and road closure for receipt and for council's approval of the exemption from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday, July 28th, and that council approve closing Jackson Street in Colchester between County Road 50 West and Sullivan Street between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.4, Community Services, 2018-023, road closure request for Essex Center Dream Cruise for receipt, and that council approve closing Talbot Street in Essex Center between Bryan and Victoria between 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. as needed to accommodate foot traffic for the cruise-in event.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Bondy. And I just hope that's going to be in Essex, not Kingsville. No. You know where I'm coming from. Anything else to the motion? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.5, Community Services, 2018-024, Colchester Harbor 2018 Blue Flag Certification for receipt for council's information.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Question from Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to go to Mr. Sweet and ask if there was anything in particular that stands out that got us that certification.
Mr. Sweet.
Through Your Worship, it's the same application where we were successful last year. Every year you have to apply, so we're just maintaining our environmental awareness, working with the boaters to ensure, and they think we're doing a great job, so we're going to continue to be above the standard they're setting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.6, Drainage 2018-07, for receipt, and that council appoint the engineering firm of Root Engineering pursuant to the Drainage Act to prepare a new drainage report for repairs and improvements to 2 access culverts over the main Shepley drain.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.7, Fire Report 2018-006, update on new regulations for firefighter certification, community risk assessments, and public reports. For receipt for council's information.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malash. It's on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just ask our Chief Farnell here if there's anything of particular importance that you should point out to us, that if you foresee that there's any issues in obtaining, timeline-wise, getting to the point where we need to be.
Mr. Chief.
Through your worship, Councillor
Mosh. I don't foresee any issues. We have a few individuals that we need to get trained, but we have a plan in place to get that done. Again, thank you to Mayor and Council for supporting me the last time I came. Some of the recommendations that we set forth did work. We got an extension on the time to July of next year instead of January. There was a few small changes, and one of the ones is officers. When I came the last time, an officer was going to be deemed compliant, and now they must be certified by January 1st, 2020, but I believe we can make that mandate. So I don't foresee any issues.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.8, Clerks 2018-009, Court of Revision for White Drain, and this is together with Bylaw 1715. For receipt, for provisional 2 readings to Bylaw 1715, and looking to appoint 3 members to the Court of Revision. The appointing resolution for Court of Revision has Councillor Snively, Councillor Vokes, and Councillor Bjorkman being appointed. Through you, Mr. Chair, I understand Councillor Bjorkman will not be available that date, and so we'd be looking for the next available council member to sit in replacement of Councillor Bjorkman. And I believe the next councillor available would be Councillor Bondi, then Councillor Rogers, then the mayor.
So would Councilor Bondi be available?
Councillor Bondi will be away from the Court of Revision that
Okay.
day.
Councilor Rogers, you're up next. No, you're up next, sir.
Councillor Rogers?
Okay. Thank you, sir. We need a motion for this report and receive and support. Councilor Bjorkman, seconded by Councilor Bondi. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.9, CAO Report 2018-02, for receipt and for receipt and for council's concurrence, and that any costs for the workplace assessment incurred in 2018 be funded from an allocation to reserve of any remaining operating surplus from 17.
Get back on here. Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Oh, there is one, sorry. Councilor Vokes.
So I take it, hang on. So this is not the cost we're talking about that I requested, right? This is it?
Yes.
So in terms of this public document, how come the cost isn't on this document?
Oh, CAO, Mrs.
Through your worship, the cost is in the report that was prepared for council.
No, but I'm saying in this public document here that everybody gets. I wish it would have been, but anyways, it's not. I think it should have been. But can we talk about this cost? Because I don't think it's no secret. When I seen that $114,000, I damn near had a heart attack. I did. Like, I got to be honest with you. I was expecting, because originally, just for the record, the original cost of this report that this council sitting before you endorsed, and I want to be corrected where I'm wrong, was give or take around $30,000. That's what we endorsed as a council. $30,000 to do an assessment, a report, back to council with recommendations. So then, when council realized that tentatively, and I use the word tentatively, there could have been some other problems with inside some of the other stations, as a result of Deputy Mayor Meloche requesting that the other stations be included, we as a council endorsed it. And the reason I endorsed that was this. One is, I felt as though, first and foremost, that the issues had to be addressed. But secondly, with all things, there's an attached cost to it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so the first station was $30,000, but all the preliminary discussions have been held, All the introductory meetings have been held, all the assigned staff have been assigned, and the numbers at the following two stations are minimal than that of one. So even if you assumed you had to do all those things, all those work, all those pre-interviews with staff and administration and talk to the CAO and to Rick and whoever, and get a gist of what the problems could be, and then you go back to your staff as a consultant and work with your staff, it was $30,000. But the other stations are smaller, and all that footwork's out of the way. So even if they charge $30,000 for each one, which they wouldn't have as much work, our bill would be $90,000. That's $114,000. And in saying that, I'm thinking it's less work, smaller stations, so fairly, they're going to charge, maybe they charge us $18,000. So in my mind, I was expecting a $60,000 to $65,000 bill when I broke it down in my mind. And when I opened this up and seen $114,000, I'm telling you people, it's corporate gouging. It's no different than when we asked for the washrooms to be added onto the pavilion for a cost of $250,000, when a toilet's $186 at Home Hardware. This is what that is. And as a result of that, when I just went through my legal proceedings, my lawyer gave me a complete breakdown of everybody he talked to and every minute he talked, and every email he sent me. And I want the same for this. I'm not going to accept as a counselor. And if council doesn't support me, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. But it's my position. I want a breakdown from them of their time, what they spent, and what they did for that type of funding. It's ridiculous. They're taking advantage of it. Simple as that. And by the way, I'll be a little detrimental. The report has made the whole work environment today, and somebody's going to yell point of order, but the report today has made the whole complete fire department environment even worse.
Point of order.
Okay, I knew that was coming.
Okay, stop. Point of order.
So, okay, I'll respect the point of order.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
No, I get to make my point.
Okay. Okay.
Point of order. We're discussing,
Point of order, sir.
we're discussing the costs
Yep.
of the report, so let's stick to the
Okay,
costs of the
okay,
report.
we'll stick to it.
And
So,
I will uphold your point of order.
that's good. Okay, let's move on. So with all that being said, is, I'm requesting, I hope council would support, that this council, prior to paying this bill, gets a timeline breakdown from the consultant of everything they did. Because what I'm going to do is just so you know, and I don't care if anybody agrees or disagrees with me, when they give me a breakdown of any certain fireman, how much time they spent interviewing them, because we're paying for it, probably about $400 an hour, and I'm going to talk to that fireman, and I'm going to find how long they talked to him for. And if their bill says 38 minutes, and that guy says 12, there's a problem. So I'm going to do my homework. I'm not going to have my eyes ripped out. As Randy Vokes, who could be sitting there, not Randy Vokes, who is sitting here. I'm not going to have my eyes ripped out as a taxpayer. Not going to accept it. So that's what I want. I hope council would support that before we pay the bill.
Okay, we're not going to start from the back end. You've asked some questions. Mrs. Hunter, our CAO, is prepared to answer your questions if you remember what they are. You'll probably remember when she starts answering. So if you want to shut your mic off, if you're finished.
I don't need
she
to
will
remember.
answer.
I remember very clearly.
Well, you've asked questions. You want the answer? But, okay, she's going to give you the answer, sir.
Through you, Your Worship, when I first obtained the services of the Sheriff Harnega LLP for this workplace assessment, the quote to me was $30,000 to $35,000, depending on whether or not we obtained recommendations. So when I came back to council, I requested to go to the other two stations and complete the workplace assessment at those two stations. At that time, I said that it could be 3 times the amount. Well, 3 times 30 or 35,000 is either 90,000 or 105,000. So there was no secrets here in terms of telling council what this cost. In terms of the labor relations component of it, I could not obtain the services of the same consultant to deal with the advice that we needed, and the meeting that we had where we had a gentleman from Hicks Morley attend. She just could not maintain that side of it. She could only deal with the assessment side of it. Certainly, I can ask her for a breakdown, but I can tell you that there's no station that's any different size in terms of number of firefighters. Station 1, obviously, because it has fire admin, has the largest amount, but there are roughly 20 firefighters per station. She met with every firefighter for an hour. There was only one firefighter where she wasn't the full hour, but then she had other firefighters with that she met with for an additional hour, and then had additional conversation with them after to clarify issues and matters. So certainly I can bring the details, but again, you're not going to see people's names because I can't bring that into an open session. And there is nothing that there's being hidden here. This is what I said it would cost. It's actually, very close between the 30 and 35,000 times 3. I don't know what else I can do.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Looking for a motion? Councilor Bondi, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If an itemized bill can be brought back even to a closed session, I would like that too. It's not unrealistic to ask for itemized bills. When we have contractors go out and do snow removal in Harrow Center, and I tell people it's 10 grand, they're like, can you get that itemized? I'm like, well, it's 10 grand, and they have a hard time understanding that it's $10,000. So it's hard. This is a hard one, right? It's a lot of money for a consultant I never met and for a report I never read. So I'm hoping that we're moving forward, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and we have to have faith, but I have no problem asking for the itemized bill or if there's any more information.
Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was a little bit surprised at the amount, but it does make sense based on the three stations. However, what we are missing here is that this cost us this much money to the sheer Parnega and the Hicks Morley, but also it's the vast amount of time and effort that our staff put into this as well that isn't even captured here. So the cost of that exercise was quite expensive for this municipality.
Councilor Vokes.
There are councilors to speak before I ask my question.
Councilor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. As the CEO explained, we were told this was about the amount we were going to be paying. As far as coming down to what we're charging out at an hourly rate and talking to people, there's no need to get to that number. If council is asking for, did a particular investigator, booked in for this many hours, if compiling the data took this many hours, we charge that. If we're looking for that kind of a breakdown, I don't have a problem with that. But if we're asking for, I want to know who she talked to, when she talked to them, each one, each hour, I don't see that. The amount of time that would take to build up, we might as well just keep cha-chinging the total here. So if there's a basic breakdown to say we spent this time in consultation, we spent this time in putting the report together, we spent this time presenting it, I got no problem with a report like that. Any more than that, I think, is just really micromanaging to the nth degree. Thank you.
Sir, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I know it's a large number, and right now I know that I kind of had an idea that it was going to be, I thought around 100 grand, in which the workplace assessment was actually 97,000 and change. I didn't realize about the legal portion of it, what that cost was going to be, but of course that is what it is. Lawyers are expensive. I just looked at our administrative clerk and just kind of, he's reasonable in price. So, who's a lawyer? Sorry, by the way. But anyway, I think that we're talking about the turmoil that's at the fire stations right now, and there may be turmoil, but there's always going to be turmoil at the fire stations, and it may seem worse right now than...
Yes, sir, and, or your point of order?
Point is, we need to stay on the money here. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Once again, I'm going to agree with you. We're talking about this report right here, and it has to deal with the money, so I'm going to, Deputy Mayor, agree with the point of order. Let's
So
talk
my
about
point,
this.
my point
Bill.
was in pointing that out was that regardless of whether we think we get the value for it, it may not be a short-term return. This is, and I think it was pointed out in the summary that although it's costing us this kind of dollars, that it may be a longer-term solution. It's not, we can't look and say, oh, because today we don't have the answers, that the money that we're paying out isn't worth it. I'd say in 2 or 3 years, if we still have deep issues, then the money that we paid out today may have been bad money in hindsight. But if everything turns out, everybody's going to say, oh, well, this money was worth the spend. So we're not going to know today or tomorrow. It's going to be much more further advanced in the future. So for us to, I don't want to, I'm feeling bad that we're going back to administration saying, it sounds like we're saying to administration, why did you do this, administration? But it was really council who approved this. So, you know, it's, you know, if we think it's too much or if we think we got gouged, it's our own fault. It's nothing we can do to go back and say we can do something differently. So, in hindsight, I wish that we could maybe have negotiated something better if we thought that we should have a lesser value. But to do it after the fact, it's kind of pointless. It's to look at it now. We owe this money, and what are we going to accomplish by looking at? You know, we're going to try and ask for some money back. I don't know, or not pay the bill. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we could probably have some kind of summary form, but those will probably show up on the billings. Whatever the billings say that we, you know, like if we could have that kind of information, I guess would be what I think is the most information we're going to get. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Hunter, our CEO.
Your Worship, I just want to mention that we didn't just pick one consultant. We talked about this with 3 consultants. We got their estimated pricing, what the program was going to look like, and this was actually the cheaper of the 3 that we talked to. And the thing that we very much liked about this, it was one consultant doing all the interviews, so you're going to get the same perspective of one person. Other ones we're going to send 3 people. Well, 3 people interpret things different. And so we preferred this, and it was also the cheapest.
Thank you for that. Councilor Votes?
Thank you, Worship. Even Snyder Automotive and Harrow has the autonomy in their business practices to give a breakdown. I had some work done at Snyder, and it was substantial. And he told me how much it was going to cost, and I agreed to it. But when it was done, he submitted a breakdown of the bill to me, everything he done, and I reviewed it before I paid him. In good business, we should be doing that. We're a council, and we're spending taxpayers' money. And when I get questioned, as to why that money or where that money's being spent, I want to be prepared. Because that guy right there in the green shirt could ask me. And when he
Hey,
comes
the
out,
bill.
no, it is the bill.
No, it
is the
isn't.
bill. It
Sir,
is the bill.
Point of order. I have a point of order.
You put your point of order forward.
I'm not going to do what
Put it
you
forward.
tell me. I have the point of
Okay.
order. As the chair,
Yep.
the point of order is
Yep.
going to be dealt with by the chair. Stop,
I'm
please.
just saying that.
I know you're not saying nothing. Yep, nope.
Yep.
You cannot speak when there's a point of order.
Okay,
I don't care.
go ahead.
Well, go ahead. I'm not going ahead because I'm not taking orders from you. Now, if you want to have a recess, I can have one. I have a point of order to make. You've been told twice, maybe not you, but council has, stick to this issue right here. Not about the guy with the wrecking business, not with somebody in the green shirt. I have our CAO wants to speak again because I think, and I'm only assuming, that you're going off topic again. So that's why I'm stopping you. It's with regards to this price right here. So please, I'll stop you again if you're going to start talking about somebody else's problems. So you have the floor again, sir.
Well, okay, so the problem I'm talking about as a taxpayer is my problem, because I'm paying for it, okay? And I didn't make no reflection on any wrecking company. I got no idea what you're talking about, but that's okay. You obviously weren't listening, but that's neither here nor there. So
Stop right now.
Okay.
You're not going to speak to any council member like that.
I'm not. I'm speaking to you.
That is.
I'm speaking to you.
Yes, you're right, and I am a council member. Hey,
I'm speaking to you.
yes, and you're accusing code of conduct. You know nothing about it, but you're
Okay, I
breaking
don't.
our code of conduct, sir.
You know
so
everything,
don't do
I
it.
don't, but
Yes,
okay.
you're right.
Yeah, you've been
So
proven to know a lot of stuff.
Don't
Like,
break
anyways.
the code of conduct.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, geez, thanks.
You're
So
welcome.
very kind of you.
I'm the
So-
only
so
guy that
anyways,
can
Counselor,
stop you and start you. So you have the floor.
Oh, geez, thanks.
Oh, you're
Geez,
going to finally, you're
thank you.
starting to thank the chair.
I feel humbled. So with that, so council, if I could, when the time's right, I'll put a motion for it. And so we can move on. I think it's right. Yeah, can we? Yeah. So either council will support the motion or they won't. So we don't have to put up with spewing rhetoric, okay? So,
Let me know when you're finished, if we have other people.
well, you're the chair. If you're listening, you'll know when I'm finished.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you don't need me to tell you when I'm finished. You'll figure it out. You apparently have the knowledge to do that. So anyways, council, I'll get mine. You promised that. I know you have. So anyways, council, when the time's right, I'll put a motion for it. You're on record, by the way, doing that.
Can't speak till he does, and he's finished.
I'm finished. I'm finished. You're not listening. You'd know I was finished.
You didn't tell me you were finished.
I don't have to tell you you're finished.
Mrs. Huff.
Through you, Your Worship, I just want to clarify here. That's my job to review the invoices when they come in. I review them against the work plan that the consultant had. I mean, the only thing I really couldn't verify would be the amount of time that she spent compiling the report, but I can imagine that was a lot of work because she had to basically take all the ideas and thoughts from every firefighter, try and put it in a big humongous spreadsheet so that she could summarize this for us. In terms of council, I mean, certainly I could bring back a summarized report, I don't mind doing that, but it is my job as CAO who obtain these services to review and check those invoices carefully because I too don't want to spend money that I do not think is correct.
Thank you for that. Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, the council. When this report, when it first come out, we were told by our CEO it was going to be $30,000 to $35,000. I don't know why we're sitting here disputing the bill. I agree it's a big bill for the taxpayer. I agree 100%. I'm a taxpayer also. But we were told it was $35,000, and then we included the two other departments. So the bill is there. It's $113,000, and we were told it was going to be $113,000. So I don't know why we're disputing it here. We're going back and forth. We're arguing about a bill. Okay, we approved literally the bill, $30,000 to $35,000 a station, and here we got you disputing it. Not disputing the bill, but you want a breakdown. So how much is that going to cost the taxpayers for a breakdown?
Listen to my motion.
Well, I don't think we need to see a breakdown of individuals that were interviewed for, I really don't believe that. Maybe a breakdown on the bill, but not who they interviewed. I don't think that's right, Counselor. And I'll make a motion.
We have a motion on the floor already, so it's been so long ago we forgot it.
Okay, call the question.
Have everybody. Anyone can ask for the question. Anyone can ask the question. Well, that's good. I hope you do. So, everybody's ready for the question. What is the motion? I was hoping somebody would ask that because that was a long time ago, Councilor Rogers. Thank you. Sir?
Through you, Mr. Chair, moved by Councilor Bjorkman, seconded by Councilor Bondi, that the CAO Report 2018-02 be received, and that any cost for the workplace assessment incurred in 2018 be funded from an allocation to reserve of any remaining operating surplus from 17.
Okay. So everyone's ready for the question. All in favor of that motion? Motion carries. Yes, sir. Councilor votes. That's your motion for the clerk. Got that, Robert? Yep. And Councilor Bondi seconded it. Now, you can speak. Y'all finished, sir? Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Bondi.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion, the gist of it, but I'm wondering if there's another way we could do it. And I'm wondering if I could ask our CAO if individual council members, when they have time, can they go to your office and with you view the itemized invoice? Is that an alternative? Because what I don't want is June 18th to sit here again and spend another hour and a half debating this. I agree we should have that, because I want to have those roundabout answers too. A little bit more information would be nice. But what I don't want to do is send our CAO back doing another 5-page report, and all of us, everybody in this room is getting paid per hour, sitting here June 18th and debating it again. So is it possible that council members who wish to see this can go to your office and see it with you? Is there another mechanism?
Point of order. Sir. And to your point of order, that's what Councilor Bondi is asking for, I believe. It's the same thing.
Yes, Councilor Vokes, through the chair to CEO Hunter. Can Councillor Vokes view that in your office?
Okay.
Through you, Your Worship, I am not going to give the invoices to anybody to take away from my office, and I will tell you why, because there is information in there that would show how long people spent with the consultant, which is confidential, and I'm not going to say any more about this. I'm tired of trying to defend the confidentiality of this process.
Hey, sir, you don't have the floor right now. Right now, you don't have the floor, okay? So, shh. Are you finished, Councillor Bonnie? Okay. If Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll go back to what Councillor Vokes was asking for, and the definition of it that I was looking at as a high-level breakdown of this charge for gathering the information, this amount for compiling the information, this much for presenting the information. Again, I'm not interested in going to person and by the hour. If that's the question, then I won't support it. So that's my question to Councillor Vokes is, the definition of what you're looking for would help us.
To Councillor Vokes.
Thank you. All I want is a financial breakdown, a spend at each station. Station 1, Station 2, Station 3, and the total hours interviewing. Not who, just total hours. And then when somebody comes to me, I can tell them, say, look, just so you know, they spent 113 hours interviewing at Station 1. They spent 97 hours interviewing at a cost of this in order to get to the bottom root cause. And that's explaining it. I'm just not going to go $114,000. And then somebody go, well, what was it for? Well, it was for the bill. Well, for what though, Randy? Well, for the bill, for the consultant. But for what, Randy? Come on. I don't do my work that way. I'm sorry, I don't. I just want a simple breakdown per station, per man, per whatever. I don't want a minute by minute, send an email to Donna Hunter on March 12th. Email was 37 words until, I don't want that. All I want is a breakdown by station, a breakdown spent on man hours and the total of hours they spent. So I say to the people, they spent a total of 397 hours. They interviewed 3 stations. They spent 97 hours here. They interviewed staff in this order, right? That's all, just some explanation for people. And the truth is, if we give that to the media, people will understand it. They'll see it. They'll get it. They'll understand it. Instead of going, yep, $114,000. For what? Well, it don't matter what it's for. And if everybody wants to look at it, I got a question, I got a motion, you're either going to support it or not. And you will take your responsibility as denying or supporting. So as Larry said, if we could call the question.
We can, if no one wants to speak. You spoke twice to it already, the motion. Councillor Bonnie has spoken, Councillor Bjorkman. The rest of us had a shot yet before I call the question. So, we have the deputy mayor, and through 2 on this side, myself. You said enough? I have one comment I wanted to make, and, I can give you the figure right now, 32,600 per station. They're all about the same size, and that's your 112, no, that's your 9. I have the floor again, sir. Sorry. So that's 97,000, a little bit over. You know, so if I was Mrs. Hunter, I might, when you're finished, sir, I will speak. So, thank you. I'm not Mrs. Hunter, but maybe if I was, that's all you people are looking for, it sounds like. How much for each station? Well, they're both all equal, so 32,500. It's a little under, but, you know, boy, that didn't take long. Why did we just spend 45 minutes here to get that figure? Okay, I'm finished. Sir, what do you know about keep quiet if you don't have the floor? Of course, I was talking, so you have to talk. Councilor, there you go again. See? and I put up with it. Why? Why do I put up with it? I won't call a recess, I'll just remove you. Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just think you were trying to oversimplify it. I mean, I know that was asked by station, but there was the direction that possibly a number of hours involved and compiling and so forth, et cetera. So there is a little bit more than just dividing it into three.
I know.
But I think we need to move on.
How do I do it? Anyways, no one else has anything that has a shot? All in,
Yes, sir.
oh, you're right, thank you.
To the motion as moved by Councillor Vokes and seconded by Councillor Bondi, that council receive a itemized financial breakdown of the total costs related to the workplace assessment of Essex Fire Stations 1 through 3. Councillor Vokes, how do you vote? Support. Councillor Bjorkman?
Opposed.
Councillor Rogers? All support. Councillor Snively?
Opposed.
Councillor Bondi?
Support.
Mayor McDermott?
Opposed?
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Support?
So on the recorded vote, Councillor Vokes, support. Councillor Bjorkman, opposed. Councillor Rogers, support. Councillor Snively, opposed. Councillor Bondi, support. Mayor McDermott, opposed. And Deputy Mayor Malash, support. With a total recorded vote of 4 in support and 3 opposed, the motion carries. .10 Infrastructure 2018-09. That said report be received and supported, that bylaw 1713 be read a first, second, and a third time, and that bylaw 321 be accordingly repealed.
Moved by Councilor Rogers, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? No one, everyone voted, sorry.
8.11 on the agenda is Chief Administrative Officer verbal report concerning delegations to ministers at the upcoming AMO conference.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. I just, tonight I'd like to get some direction from council in terms of meetings with ministers at the AMO conference that they would like to have. I received some thoughts from Councillor Bjorkman and some thoughts from Councillor Bondi. Now, they do have some guidelines. They limit the number of issues that you can bring per ministry to 3. And then also you can't meet with more than one ministry on the same issue. So the issues that I have here, I mean, obviously widening of Highway 3 is pretty clear. And I just need some, in order to put these into some sort of a brief for the minister, and if this is what council wants me to bring forward, I just need some details on what it is exactly you're looking for, and also if there is other items that might be of interest. And I had spoken to Councillor Vokes perhaps about the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care as being one that maybe he would like us like to have brought forward to a minister. So if we can maybe just start and just talk about these briefly in terms of what it is you're looking for precisely, and then I can, if the council's in agreement with that, then I can put that together.
Okay. Councilor Vokes?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to take, and I'm going to make it brief, is that, again, I think it's a great opportunity that somebody get the health minister, whoever that may be in power after Thursday, off to the side, and as originally requested, whether it's the Conservatives, Liberals, which it isn't going to be, obviously, or the NDP, and we get them and cordially invite them through our delegates going to that conference, that they attend a council meeting. And the reason I want them to attend the council meeting personally, and not that administration or whoever's at the conference couldn't convey the message to them. But after my experience, I personally want to talk to them. And the reason my experience was deplorable, and I'll make it short, is by ambulance. I arrived at the hospital at 6 o'clock at night with a 40.7 temperature, where they were blowing the air conditioning vents on me in the ambulance because my temperature kept going up. I was borderlining septic. and I was constantly vomiting. And I seen a doctor at 20 to 2 in the morning. After getting there by ambulance at 6 o'clock that night, I received treatment. Shortly after that, and I got home from the hospital at 20 to 11 the next morning. When I was in there, there was a young lady where her 4-year-old daughter had her foot run over by a tractor and crushed her foot. And she stood up screaming in pleadingness to get help, because at that point she had been in there 5.5 hours with her daughter with the crushed foot. And the ambulance attendants took me to Leamington because they said the wait time will be shorter. So if I seen a doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning or 1:30 in the morning to their benefit, that means in Windsor, town it could have been 4 in the morning. Going septic with high fever, that's wrong. And that's just not happening to me. That's happening to tens of hundreds of residents in our own community every day. So I want to take advantage of the AMO conference to have that health minister respond on terms of attending our council so they can hear it from us first. And we as a council collectively and respectfully to that individual, let them understand what we're up against and see what their answers to. And we can lead the way on it. A lot of people saying, I've heard it, well, they won't come to us. They're not going to come to us. If you asked any one of them right now, with the election being Thursday, if they would come to us, you know what every one of them are going to say? I'll be there. But come Friday, or at the AMO, the same question should be asked. And I hope they would respond and they would accept our invitation to come here to talk about, not the whole health care, but I just want to talk about the emergency, because if you can get people through there before they die, which they're doing, then we got another success mark on our resume, and I'll leave it at that. So if somebody at AMO could talk to somebody there about that, about actually attending our council meeting at the request of this council, that would be my guess to benefit to our community.
Your worship. Oh, sorry.
That it, sir?
Yep, thank you.
Mrs. Hunter?
Through you, your worship, if that is acceptable to council, I will include that one as well. If we can just go through the list and talk about those in terms of what it is that you're actually looking for. I mean, widening of Highway 3, I think it's obvious. I don't need any help with that one. The pedestrian bridge to connect Sadler's Pond Trail to the Cipher system. I don't know are you looking for grant monies for that? I'm not sure quite what it is.
Councilor Durham?
Through your worship, yes, for grant monies for, even if there's money with regard to helping with the design, they've done a number of them now in Windsor. When we were at the bike summit, they were talking about the different ones they've done in Ottawa. So it's not something that needs to be reinvented, and it's something that hopefully there's grants for active transportation, and it would help us if they're not going to widen Highway 3 for the foreseeable future. Let's get our people across that highway safely.
Through you, your worship, just because we can only bring it to one ministry, and we have it under both Minister of Sports, Culture and Tourism and the MTO, I'm thinking maybe with that being that what the ask is that it might be better under the Ministry of Sports.
I agree. I think there's more funding there.
Deputy Mayor Melange, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree because we need permission from, I know the funding might come from sports, but I think the actual bridge is going to have to be approved by the MTO. They're the ones who approve the pedestrian bridge.
Mr. Nipsey?
Through your worship, yeah, I think the bridge ties to the widening of the highway. I mean, if they're not going to widen the highway, as Councillor Borkman noted, in any time soon, which it doesn't unfortunately seem like it, then I think it would be advantageous to have that pedestrian bridge crossing. If they're going to widen the highway, If we bring up our first point and they say yes to that, then it really moots the point for pedestrian bridge across the highway, as the overpass will create a local road for us to connect to those sports fields. So I think the MTO is a better spot for it.
I think in the last week and a half maybe, the two parties that have a shot at winning have guaranteed us, that it's going to be done right away. So you're right. They'll be done together, I think.
Further,
Deputy Mayor Malone.
Mr. Mayor, and under sports, culture, and tourism, the Essex Center Sports Field, I think that's generic enough that we can talk to them, and I think if enough communities bring that to their attention at AMO conference, and there's probably going to be a number of communities that do, they'll get a feeling that they should be putting maybe a grant out for that particular item for sports fields. And I've seen that happen in the past where they pulled their information from groups that have talked to them at their AMO conferences, and that's the kind of grants that they put out there. So I would think that the Essex Sports Fields would be a good one to talk about myself.
Okay.
Through you, Your Worship.
Mr. Hunter.
So in terms of that I would put through the Minister of Sports, Culture and Tourism, and it's grant funding that we're looking for, I presume, here? Yeah, okay. And then, under the Minister of Sports and Culture, you had also included multi-use trails with the pedestrian bridge. Now, having put the pedestrian bridge under the MTO, what is it we're looking for multi-use trails? Is that grant funding as well?
Councilor Bjorn.
I would say pretty much everything I got on there, we're looking for, grant money's always a good one to start. Yes, we're looking for grant money. And then there's a couple others where we're maybe looking for some resources from, but it's, money's always first.
You want some more paper, Mrs. Hunter?
Through you, Your Worship, the portables performance stage is included in that as a grant money, I presume, as well. Okay, so is everybody okay with putting those ones through?
Sure.
Okay. And then, the ones for OMAFRA, I didn't understand entirely what you were meaning, through you, Your Worship, on regulations for buffer zones on farms encroaching on ditches and watercourses.
Councilor Bjork.
Yeah, through your worship, I was speaking with Richard Wyman and Kevin Money from IRCA, and looking at what we can do for our area to fight these algae blooms. And one of the big things that they are looking at is greater buffer zones on farm fields, so that they don't farm right up to the ditch, so that they leave a 3-meter section where the actual water from the field has to work its way through. So if there's any on-field fertilizer or phosphates and stuff, it's got a much more difficult track to get into the ditch, which will then come down and eventually pollute our lakes. So that was, again, just in there as, I don't really know how to say that, but I'm looking to go to that minister and say, are we looking as a province to push this provincially? We need it in our area. But if it's something that's provincially mandated, it sure make it a lot easier for us to enforce. And that kind of goes with the increased resources for the algae blooms, as well as invasive species like Phragmites.
That's a good point, if I may. Is that why when they clean the ditches, like they don't spread it over the field, they put kind of that buffer that I think you're talking about, right at the ditches, the top, and that should help keep that stuff from running over straight in, yeah. Councilor Snively.
Your Worship, to Steve, I think that Councilor Bjorkman, we should maybe push for grant money too that we had in the past for outdated septic systems. There was grant money available through IRCA, through the government, senior government, and I would like to see us push to see if they're going to bring that program back into place. I know IRCA's pushing for it. We're pushing it as a board, but while you're there, I think we should push the minister on that too, for grant money for updates on septic systems.
Mrs. Hunter?
Your worship, and the last one under that was increased resources to fight invasive species like Phragmites, however you say that.
Councilor Bjorkman?
If I could, I have one more thing. What's happened with our latest storm events and our wind and our flooding and everything, there used to be a program for lakefronts and waterfront properties that they could get funding through the provincial government, through the municipality, to help with break wall repairs and erosion prevention items. That's no longer an active grant program with the provincial government. So I believe it was the provincial government. I don't think it was the Oceans and Fisheries. It was provincial. So I'm not exactly sure which minister that is that we should go after that, but we've got a number of our residents out there along the lake that have really suffered with this last bashing out there. So if there's a way that we can influence that minister, we should try to do that as well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, through you, your worship, if those are all good, then I will put those together. And then the last one is the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services, Councillor Bondi, amendments to the Ontario SPCA Act to limit the length of time an animal may be tethered and how an animal may be tethered, and controls related to exotic species. So we're looking for changes that would be regulating these at the provincial level versus at the municipal level.
Bonnie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think this is especially exciting, this AMO, because we will have a new provincial government, and unfortunately, I most likely won't be at AMO, but I think every time we do this, we have a great exotic pet bylaw in the town of Essex. And it would just be, we're not asking for grants, we're not asking for money, but I just want to, if somebody could walk over, shake their hand and say, here, this is Essex, this is our exotic pet bylaw, it's wonderful. Our exotic pet bylaw has been vetted by experts in our area that know animals. As we all know on council, it stops the smuggling of endangered species into Essex, it stops the smuggling of invasive species into Essex, and it stops people from having deadly animals. Whether it stops it or not, that can be speculated, but it's a really good bylaw, and it would be great if the entire province had that bylaw rather than just piecemealing little municipalities. And I still, of course, would love to see the length of time an animal may be tethered as a provincial issue. Whether it be 12 hours, 10 hours, 6 hours, or 4 hours, at least they could start with something so that there's other dogs in rural or in urban communities that aren't tethered for 365 days. I love those. Just bringing the province our model, because it is such a great model, and say, hey, we're here, this is what we have, and we want to work with you.
I agree. We know it's going to be a new government. They might as well start up here instead of on the basement. I agree with you. So I think we should bring that with us. Be the first thing we give to them. Thanks. Yep. This is
Through you, your worship, I think if council's in agreement with all that, is there anything else that council would like to bring forward?
But I just might add that we need to receive and support this, but we have till July 3rd to add to it, so if something should happen, it should be open to add that to it. Okay, to this agreement. Okay, so if we're all done adding tonight, we need someone to move and support. Deputy Mayor Malash and Councilor Bjorkman, any questions? And it is an open. Okay, thanks. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 9, any reports from our youth members? Youth member Robinson.
Yes, sir.
I have nothing to report today.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
11.1, correspondence to be received, that the correspondence listed in agenda item 11.1 be received and where indicated and applicable to further share with the community.
Support all three.
Okay.
Receive those items in 11.1 and support them?
Yes. Well, this is received, right?
Right. Okay.
And 2 and 3. Moved, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malaj.
Actually, the very first one I'd like to see us receive and support. And that one's in regard to landfill sites, that local municipalities should have some say in
Just a point of information, or Deputy Mayor, we have supported this. We're just receiving correspondence from other municipalities that
Okay.
have supported it.
Okay, that's fine.
But if we want to support it again, we can support it again.
It looked
We can
familiar,
just-
but I thought we had seen it at county council and not here. Okay, thank you.
Both. Yeah. Okay, so we're taking all 3 of these on at once. Okay, we have a second, or all in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.1, correspondence for receipt and support, that the correspondence inviting Essex Council to participate in the celebration of Franco-Ontarian Day on September 25th by holding a flag ceremony be received or received and supported.
Okay, Councillor Snively, Councillor Bjorkman. Oh, no questions, all in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.2, Town of Kingsville, that a copy of the correspondence sent from the Town of Kingsville to the Town of Lakeshore, dated May 27th, advising that they support the request for the Government of Ontario to review and revise the laws regarding the alteration, renovation, and/or demolition of all buildings containing hazardous materials to ensure that proper steps and preventative measures are taken to protect the public from exposure to hazardous materials. For receipt or receive and support, and if so supported, that a letter of support be sent.
Okay. And seconded by Councillor Snively. Any questions? Other than if this letter goes too late, maybe we should just send it to the Liberal Party, I would think, and not, well, Kathleen one, I guess it'll go to her office, whoever is in there. That'll be okay, I guess. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.3, correspondence from the City of Quinte West, that a copy of that correspondence to AMO dated May 28th, requesting that once the cannabis legislation is passed, that a 6-month grace period be enacted to ensure that municipal law enforcement officers and the Ontario Provincial Police are adequately trained to enforce the said legislation. For receipt or receive and support, and if council chooses to support, that the appropriate letter of support be sent.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, Councillor Snively. Any comments, questions? Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, through your worship. Yeah, I won't support this. I think that they're asking for a grace, but they want to pass the law and then allow municipalities to, not enforce it, sit back and wait. Well, that just allows anybody who wants to start popping up dispensaries, or if it's the law. I think we all know it's coming. Let's support the law, and we'll do the best we can with that. But to just say, you know what, we won't enforce anything for the first 6 months, what does that open the door to? So I don't support this. I'll receive it, but I won't support what they have here.
Okay, I have Mrs. Hunter would like to speak.
Through you, Your Worship, I think one of the realities of the situation is the fact that we will not be in a position to enforce. We have no regulations, we have no details. It's going to be virtually impossible. It is almost impossible now, but it's going to be virtually impossible to do anything because the province is so far behind in this. And, I mean, we can support this because really, at the end of the day, it's going to happen anyways.
Okay, Councillor vote. Oh, Councillor Bjorkman, you still have the floor, sir.
Just to that, I have a problem saying we just won't enforce it. Maybe we can't, maybe we will have struggles, maybe it will be difficult, I get that, but to just say, we're going to be hands off for 6 months, you guys work it out and give us some information on what to do. I disagree with making the statement, we won't do anything about it for 6 months. I think it's going to be difficult, I agree, but that's where we've got to learn. We're going to learn from other communities, we'll all learn together. But to just say, we're not going to do anything, and that's what that appears to me on this motion. And I just don't support that motion. I don't want to back that up. Thank you.
Mrs. Hunter.
Through you, Your Worship, I don't think I'm really saying that to support the motion as much as I'm saying this is going to be a problem, and it doesn't matter if we accept this, because we're not going to have any tools on our toolbox to enforce at this point.
I would just like to say, about a month or 5 weeks ago, we had a Zone 6 meeting over in Lake LaSalle. What's his name? Pat Ducharme was the guest speaker. And on behalf of the law, it's going to be a long time before they ever get something where they can test me for smoking within 2 hours of my driving that vehicle. Like right now, they've got like the liquor thing, they can test you for, being impaired. It's going to be long time before they come up with something that you get pulled over, they're going to be able to check to be able to charge anyone with being high or whatever they charge you with. Now, that's from him. We just had an OPP big conference of Southwestern Ontario at Blue Mountain, and the same thing was said by the police association at that thing. Like, wow, they don't know which direction they're going yet. They haven't got a clue, and it's like they're talking about getting it passed this summer. Wow, what a shocker that'd be, they all said, if that happens, if it happens.
Mr. Mayor, I have to excuse myself.
Yep.
And so I have 2 notices of motion, but we were so long-winded tonight, we won't get to it. Can I put them on the next agenda?
Sure.
If I don't make it back, please, by the
We'll
time you
get
adjourn.
someone to table it
That's
on your
fine.
behalf. Sure. Thanks, Sherry. Okay, anything else to this one here about the cannabis thing? Councilor Vogt.
I find it a little bit strange that in terms of cannabis and medical medicinal marijuana has been on the forefront in the province of Ontario now. You could get medicinal marijuana for the last 3 years legally. 3 years. And now the provincial police are saying to us, our policing, by the way, that we pay for, saying, hey, we need 6 months to prepare. That's what it says. It says they want an extension of 6 months.
No, one municipality does.
Yeah, they want us to support, because it said, maybe I'm wrong, but it says, an act to ensure that the municipal law enforcement officers, the Ontario Provincial Police, are adequately trained to enforce.
That's a request.
Yeah, I realize that. I know it's from them. But my point is that they need time to prepare to enforce. This like is sitting on the railroad tracks and the train's coming and everybody telling you the train's coming, now they need an extension. I don't get it. And that's our policing, whether it's from this municipality or not. So anyways, I'll support it, but I say to the policing, and it may get me off on the side of the road, come on people, wake up. Wake up. They shouldn't have to do something to request a 6 month. They should be ready to go right now. It's ridiculous.
Through you, Mr. Chair, can I just clarify that the mover and seconder, they amended their motion to just receive?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Receive.
Item 12, that the minutes listed in agenda item 12 be received and adopted as circulated, namely the minutes from the Essex Fun Fest meeting of May 17th and the Committee of Adjustment of May 15th.
Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Rogers. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
13.1, that the bank payments report for March 2018 be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malage. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
13.2, that the bank payments report for April 2018 be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Councilor Rogers, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Under item 15.1, this was tabled or brought forward to tonight from the May 22nd meeting. It was Councilor Bondi's motion that council ask administration to review and bring back a draft bylaw on the idling of vehicles.
Move to table. Thank you, sir. Supported by Councilor Rogers. All in favor? Motion carries.
And then through the chair, 15.2 was just a presentment of motion, no discussion. It was to be brought forward at the June 18th, 2018 regular council meeting. That council direct administration to develop a system on how councilors and residents can request the speed sign on roads to monitor traffic speeding.
That's okay.
Yep.
Good.
Item 16, any reports and announcements from council members this evening?
Okay, Councilor Bjorkman, we're starting with you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one item that Director Sweet reminded me of. We have roller skating starting in Essex Center this Wednesday. Starts at what? I'm going to ask Director Sweet to give the info about that.
Mr. Sweet,
When,
fill us in.
what time?
What's old is new again. So this Wednesday, roller skating at the Essex Arena from 6 to 8:30. It's $3 per participant. So they can bring out the rollerblades, but hopefully more roller skating with music.
Question to that one, sir, is $3 for 2-3 hours, or?
It's a one-time fee. Yep.
Yeah.
So for the night.
So it's going to be from
6
what
to
what?
I believe it's 6 to 8:30.
8:30. Okay, thank you.
And the Tune Up the Parks has started this week, actually tonight. They are in Colchester, and Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, they'll be in Essex Center. But there's 7 o'clock Mondays in Colchester, 7 o'clock Wednesdays in Essex Center, and there are about 4 different events in Harrow Center and McGregor Center, different dates throughout the summer. So that schedule is on our website. So get out and support our local musicians. And lastly, tomorrow we have the fundraiser for our Colchester family event out at the harbor, and we're looking for a real good turnout there at noon tomorrow out at the harbor community room. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Vokes.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate once again, and I got a couple opportunities left to do this, July 28th at 10 o'clock at the Heritage Park downtown Essex, underneath the Purcell Memorial Spitfire plane. We're going to be holding our business expo, and it starts at 10, it goes to 4. We're going to have a cruise in and live music and food trucks, and hopefully have all the businesses there. And that extension, again, I want to reiterate, and I want it to be known, and we're going to take opportunity to do that. That is just not Ward 1, it's the residents or the businesses of Harrow too. We would love nothing more than for them to join us at this end and have the opportunity to promote their businesses. Because like in Essex, there's some very unique businesses out there that we hope they come and share the day with us, but we'll be talking to all of them anyway. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to say thank you to, and I know our assistant planner and our heritage administrator, Rita Jabor, is not here right now, but I still want to give a shout out to her because she did a fantastic job at last Friday night or Thursday night's heritage meeting presentation. The first 25 years of McGregor history was in conjunction with the Marsh collection out of Amherstburg, and we had great success. We had 150 people out with standing room only. We never guessed that we would have that many people present. Couldn't even find a spot on a wall to stand, and there are people in the audience here who were there that evening who can attest to it. So thank you to Rita and her group for helping with that and putting on a successful event. This coming Sunday, we've got a very important community event happening. It's called the McGregor Music Festival. This has been ongoing for, I'm going to say, 30 years, close to 30 years, maybe 31. This is an event that is exclusively fundraising for the Regional Cancer Center, the Essex Windsor Regional Cancer Center. We've fundraised up to over $250,000 over the time period, and last year alone we raised $39,000 on the one-day event. It's only $5 admission, and we ask that anybody here that has some time on Sunday to come out and support a great cause. We all know that cancer is one of those nasty items that have affected all of us. I don't think there's any one family that you can talk to and say that cancer hasn't affected their family. So this is something that all of these dollars stay right here locally in our community. They don't go out of Essex, Windsor County, or Essex County. And we do some good stuff with this money, replacing of equipment to make our visits to the hospital easier for those patients who have to receive treatment, and other projects to buy equipment that help our residents locally. So if you've got some time, it runs from noon till 9 on Sunday. Some great prizes. There's raffle prizes and pig auction, as I mentioned previously, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But there's a bar there. Come on out, bring your lawn chairs if you want to ensure that you've got a spot to sit or a blanket to sit on the grass. Great music. We've got 9 bands coming out to play, a new band every hour, and some very top-notch talent from Windsor, Essex. And we've selected 9 bands, but we have at least double or triple the number of bands that would like to play. We just don't have the amount of time. So thank you to everybody who helps organize that weekend. A lot of great prizes, like I said. Come on out and help out. You're only throwing out $5 to listen to music for as long as you want that day. Also, next Tuesday, June the 12th, for anybody that's interested in being perhaps on the train station board of directors, the Essex Rail Station will hold their annual AGM at 5 p.m., and that's at the rail station. And also, I just want to admit, can't say my words tonight, but I also want to talk about July 28th as well. I know Councillor Vokes has an event, and I know there's another event out in Colchester that day. It's going to be a busy day in the town of Essex. But McGregor also has their Coan Park and McGregor's 40th anniversary party. It's there's plans to have all kinds of events going on, face painting for the kids, different competitions that are going to go on. I think there's a tug of war that's going to be taking place between Amherstburg, I'm not sure if it's the fire department or councillor or ex-councillors, against the town of Essex's fire department / councillors / ex-councillors. Whoever we can get, we want some tough and some people that can really pull their weight. So it's going to be an interesting day. Come out on July the 28th to the Coan Park in McGregor to help us celebrate 40 years of that park being a success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to congratulate Mr. Sweet, first of all, with regards to getting that skate park up. First people I talked to was my older sister and her husband. She was telling me that's where they met. 3 guys from Windsor used to come out here skating, and for 2 weeks in a row tried to get her to take a ride home with the 3 guys, and she says, I knew what they were up to. So I said no, and the second time, she talked to an old neighbor, Jerry Billings' sister, Sherry, who they used to hang out together, and said, we're walking home. Well, they weren't happy with that, so she asked her future husband to walk her home, and Shirley got her boyfriend, and she's happy that it's open. They'll be down there as bad a shape as they're in. They're going to be there, and I hope we get out of county council soon enough that I can go at least watch if I can find a pair of skates. But with regards to next week, I guess, or is it this week? This week, forget to get out and vote. All those people that are running are there to do a job, and each one of them are looking for your vote, my vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, but we have the right to vote, so let's get that percentage up and vote for who you think is your best representative, because they are looking for your vote. So that's what I want to reiterate, all you people at home, make sure you get out and vote. Thank you very much. Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be real quick. What we're launching in Harrow and Colchester with the help of the Ward 3 councilors, they'll be getting these too, is we have our little welcome wagon. It came out of the survey that we did door to door in the fall, that people said that they didn't have like a welcome wagon. So I went to almost every business in Harrow. I still have a couple outliers that I haven't, and had great participation with Harrow businesses. So it's all in here. I even got our utility to donate some shirts, so that's fantastic. So in Harrow and Colchester, we're bringing back the Welcome Wagon in partnership with a community group on Facebook, the Harrow Essex Community Share Group, and in partnership with local realtor Mike Tomek is going to work with the realtors in the area. So when somebody moves from Essex, or not Essex, sorry, from Lakeshore or Windsor into Harrow or Colchester, we are hoping to get one of these on their doorstep. That's the goal. We've made 50 of them, so we're ready to take on 50 residents, and after that, we'll go do it again. So if you see any homes for sale or is sold signs or any tenants moving in, just let our team know, and we'll get this to their door.
Thank you for that. Councilor Snively.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilor Bjorkman already touched on this, but the event tomorrow for the barbecue, it's a fundraiser for our July 28th fireworks day and fun day for the kids and families. I want to thank Doug. Doug put everything together, he pretty well organized everything tomorrow. All I did was the fundraising, but he did the rest, and with the help of Steve and the other councilors here, Councilor Malash and Councilor Rogers, I think right now we're at about 54 tickets, so sold at $200 a ticket, so we're going to reach our goal. We're going to be over 10 grand. So I think the total right now, Doug, is probably around $40,000 we raised for the event, around 40 grand. So we're right there to put the event on. So, and another thing, I'd like to thank the Legion, and we should all know the Harrow Legion. I asked them to do the barbecue and serve the food and everything. Their president come to me and said there's no charge. They're doing it for no charge, so we're just paying for the food. So thanks to the Legion. Thank you. And there's still room if anybody wants to go tomorrow. There's still room for 3, 4, 5 more people, so it's $200 a shot.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, the July 28th and 29th is going to be a very, very busy weekend. We have the Family Day out in Colchester on the 28th, as well as Explore the Shore on County Road 50 for the 28th and 29th. That's the extent of those type of announcements, but I also want to reiterate what Mr. Mayor, you indicated. I want to encourage everyone as well to make sure you vote on Thursday. Vote for whoever you want, but vote, please.
Thank you for that. Council, anyone forget anything? Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, before we go to bylaws this evening, I was a little hasty in walking through our agenda. It appears I skipped item 10. Any updates from County Council?
Yeah, I saw that. Yep. Deputy Mayor Malash.
I did notice
Wednesday
that.
night. So did I.
But I didn't say anything. Just quickly, I don't have anything in depth, but I just want to bring to council's attention that there is a county road review going on, and I've talked about it previously, but it's starting to come to a conclusion, and I know that Mr. Nepsey's probably hard at work providing information to the county as well, and I'm not sure if he's heard anything either yet, but that's going to be coming back to us very soon, and we've got to be ready for that because there could be some potential changes, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Going back to bylaws for third and final reading, bylaw 1708 to enter into a development agreement between the town and Compound Holdings Harrell.
Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
1709 being the confirming bylaw from the proceedings of the May 22nd regular council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Councilor Snively. All in favor? That carries.
And bylaws for two readings, 17.3 is bylaw 1714, which is the confirming bylaw for the proceedings of this June 4th regular council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, second by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. And motion to adjourn. Councilor Bjorkman, Councilor Vokes, all in favor? Carries. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.